It's early morning. You watch birds coming to the feeder. Butterflies and hummingbirds dip and dart from blossom to blossom in the garden. This could very well be your own backyard. I'm Cheryl Falstead.
And I'm Bud Russo, and we'll be your guides as we visit the Mesilla Valley Bosque, one of New Mexico's newest state parks.
And one that opens its backyard for you and everyone to visit and enjoy. Mesilla Valley Bosque State Park was dedicated in December 2008 to restore part of the Rio Grande habitat and educate the public about what it resembled so many decades ago, before the Rio Grande was channeled to deliver irrigation water faster to farmers downstream.
Bosque is Spanish for forest along a river, and if you had walked along the riverbank in the mid to late 1800s, you would have walked beneath a dense copse of cottonwoods and willows, navigating around wetlands and ponds.
Looking at the river now, especially in the fall when the water's low, you can see the path that cuts between the levees and imagine its sinuous flow when it was still a wild river.
That's why the state decided to create the park here, to reclaim part of the natural history of the Rio Grande. The park grew out of a 52-acre parcel called the Old Refuge, purchased in 1933 by the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish.
Led by the efforts of the Southwest Environmental Center, which worked to restore 2 wetland ponds, New Mexico State Parks brought together a number of government agencies and private concerns to assemble the over 300-acre park. Among the private participants is the J.B. Harris Farm, whose owner has established conservation easements to restore the land.
Your visit to the Mesilla Valley Bosque State Park begins at the Visitor Center as you walk through the zaguan, or passageway leading to the central patio. The Visitor Center's design was based on the haciendas of times past, when, as families grew, other buildings were added to the main house, all centered around a plazuela, or patio.
Notice the different colors on doors, some windows with shutters and others without. Some roofs peaked and others flat. The design was not only to capture the spirit of the past, but also to serve as a place where the culture of the Mesilla Valley can be reclaimed and demonstrated.
While the Visitor Center retains the flavor of the 19th century, it is very much a part of the 21st century. It uses solar panels to generate electricity, super efficient LED lighting, and a ground source heating and cooling system.
In the exhibit hall, you'll find a 3D map and a diorama of the Mesilla Valley. There are informative displays explaining the 7 distinct biospheres, from riverine wetlands to dry desert habitat represented in the park, and the plants and animals that live here. There are also samples of artifacts left behind by the many people who have lived along the river over the centuries.
Immediately to the west of the plazuela are formal gardens. As you walk among the plants, notice they are all native to the Chihuahuan Desert and were selected to teach about pollination by butterflies and hummingbirds. Around the gardens or buildings, you can spot many of the 200-plus species of birds that call the park home or use it as they migrate. So don't forget to bring your spotting scope or binoculars.
For those who are interested, the park offers 2 easy half-mile-long trails, with others soon to be added, especially after the park acquires another 640 acres of sandhills south of the present property. Let's walk together and see what we discover.
The Resaca Trail is east of the Visitor Center and takes us through saltgrass meadows near the river and wetlands punctuated with cattails. In season, we find asters, peppergrass, and yerba mansa, an herb people have used for centuries for its medicinal value.
Notice the many new cottonwoods and willows planted along the river. These will eventually replace the thick stands of invasive salt cedar, which does irreparable harm to the ecosystem.
The trail turns westward, and we soon come upon the Picacho Drain, an acequia or ditch which returns excess irrigation water to the river. Dense rushes and cattails along the acequia provide cover and nesting habitat for waterfowl and other birds.
As we cross the acequia, we transit onto the upland trail, which is noticeably drier. The ground is sandy. We see different plants here, mesquite and various cacti, along with creosote bushes, sunflowers, and 4-winged saltbush, a most interesting plant. The 4 paper-like wings projecting from the seeds were collected by native people and cooked into a porridge. They often ate the leaves raw.
These and other plants along the trail were also used by both Native Americans and Spaniards centuries before the arrival of Anglos from back east.
Pay close attention to the tracks you find in the sand. Here are just a few you might find. See if you might know which animal made this one. This is the footprint of New Mexico's ubiquitous roadrunner. Now, can you guess what left this trail?
This was made by a whiptail lizard. And how about this strange track? If you guessed stink bug, you got it right.
Other animals, like javelinas and raccoons, have left their prints, and this tree is what remains after it was cut down by, you guessed it, a beaver.
When you visit Las Cruces, you'll want to call the park to see what's going on while you're in town. Each Saturday morning, there are birdwatching sessions and field trips for school children throughout the year. In May, the park hosts Rio de Vida, River of Life, a program that shows off the diversity of the park's wildlife, plants, and habitats.
Dr. John Hunter of New Mexico State University conducts the Time Travelers program. This living history includes Dr. Hunter's students dressed in period costumes and reenacting historical events. Participants also make adobe bricks, learn to make tortillas and tamales, how laundry was done in times past, or other historic skills.
The year culminates with Commemoration Day, bringing the Time Travelers program to the public. And as the holidays approach, visitors enjoy the park decked out in luminarias.
You can reach Mesilla Valley Bosque State Park by taking Avenida de Mesilla, New Mexico Highway 28, and turning west onto Calle del Norte, Highway 359. Drive about 1.5 miles to the Rio Grande. The entrance to the park is immediately across the river.
Mesilla Valley Bosque State Park is generally open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. On weekends in summer, from April through August, the park is open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m.
There's a $5 per vehicle entrance fee, but that entitles you to visit any other New Mexico State Park during the same day.
If you love nature as much as we do, you'll just have to see the Mesilla Valley Bosque, a park that's so very near and yet takes you so far away.
This podcast was sponsored by the Las Cruces Convention and Visitors Bureau
and produced by Explore New Mexico.